every Wednesday at 2 p.m. And most importantly, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. How's it feel? Are you excited to be here? Have you set any New Year's resolutions? And more importantly, have you stuck to them? Video series for this next couple weeks is called Fresh Start 2022. Conquer your fears, learn the framework that you need to overcome, to make your dreams a reality. That's what we're all about today. And so welcome for those of you that are joining along live. So excited to share that with you. Now, I do have a workbook that I put together for you guys, a PDF. So if you're watching on Instagram, the link is up in the bio at the top. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, there's a link down below. Just scroll down into the description, click the link, and get that workbook to follow along. Very, very helpful. It's got all the exercises as well, because there's going to be homework every week in between video series. And so if you come and check out that homework, then you'll know what to expect and what to see. Now, really quickly, I want to summarize some of the stuff we talked about right before we wrapped up the end of 2021, because there was the last two series we did was the holiday survival guide, right? We talked about expectations and burnout, the idea that we just try and cram all this stuff into our week and then we feel overwhelmed, we feel stressed, we feel guilty when we don't get it all done, and right? And when really there's only so many hours in a week. And so what's really the most important to us, and do we use our time effectively to get there, right? For a lot of us, that's probably not the case. We spend time putting out all these urgent things that really aren't that important to us. They're important to other people, but that's how our time gets filled. So being mindful of that. And the second week, we talked about self-limiting beliefs and how they can become liberating truths. And so I'm going to bring this up. This was from last week's presentation. We had the 3 layers of behavior change. And so when we're talking about goal setting, when we're talking about resolutions, so a lot of times we're talking about outcomes, right? This physical thing we accomplish, we run 5 kilometers, we get a promotion at work, we buy a new car, we save to pay off our credit card debt, whatever it is. And maybe if we're lucky, we look at the process, we think about the steps we actually have to take to get there. And if you've done that, then maybe you've blocked time off in your schedule for certain things to happen, so you're not feeling really overwhelmed about it. But the thing that we spent a little bit of time on last week was the identity, the self-limiting belief, the idea that whether you choose to believe it or not, you're probably right. So we can hold on to these beliefs, that I'm not an athlete, or that it's too cold to run, or that it's impossible to save that much money. I don't make enough money. I can't possibly save any extra to pay off my credit card or whatever. And first off, is that true? Have you ever seen somebody pay off your credit card? Have you ever seen somebody run outside, et cetera, et cetera? The answer is probably always yes. There's somebody somewhere that's done what you're dreaming of doing. That's why it's your dream for it, because you've seen it and you want that to be your reality as well. And so if it's true, that's great. A lot of times it's not. And so if it's not true, is it helpful? Is it serving you? Is this belief that you're hanging on to, is it meaningful or valuable in some way? And that is the kind of crux of what we got to last week, is that probably not. And so there's always a liberating truth. I get that from Michael Hyde. You can flip it around. Liberating truth is something that's equally as true, that kind of is inspiring or powerful to you. So, I am a runner, or I'm a good saver, or I make enough money to save for my future, to save for my vision, my dream for myself. Right? So people saw those videos and they said, Jack, that's great. I love the idea of managing expectations, of having the limiting belief, or the liberating truths. Those all sound great, but how does that actually work with your goal setting? What does that look like? And so that's where we are today. I put together an amazing PDF for you guys. If you're watching this on the Instagram live, up in the story, up in the bio, you can find the link. And then if you're on Facebook or YouTube, down in the description, there's a link to sign up for the workbook. Go ahead and grab that and download that. I'll show you what it looks like in today's presentation, and you're going to need it because there's homework in between every single video. We have a 6-part video series, and in between each kind of lesson or teach that I share with you guys, a little bit of homework to do. And so to get the most out of the videos, you want to make sure that homework's done in between each video session so you can kind of follow along as we go. So this is, let's bring this up here. This is the workbook, Fresh Start 2022 Goal Setting Workbook. So conquer your fears and learn the framework to make your dreams a reality. Pretty exciting, right? And so from here, the most important thing that we're going to cover off today is the just kind of the dream big, the brainstorm, the vision, the kind of what, begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey says. If you don't know where you're going, then any road will get you there. I believe all those things to be true. So what we have to conquer first and foremost, before we kind of get down to the nitty gritty of what we want our goals or what we want our habits to be, or whether or not we have enough time in our week to accomplish them all, we need to understand what's important to us and what's not. And the best way to do that is to create a vision for your future, to have a plan for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, whatever it is that you want to imagine, and then sit down and take the time to kind of flesh that out and get clear on what your life looks like at that point. So what liberating truths does that individual believe? What things do they have? Where are they in the world? What people do they spend their time with? How do they spend their time? How do they make their money? And this is you're dreaming of obviously this future self. And when you get really, really clear on that, then it makes it easy to go through the rest of the exercises and decide on goals for your particular year, because you have this higher level vision, higher level purpose, and values already in mind. So in the workbook here, on the first couple pages, there's kind of just what we talked about, the idea of vision, values, and making sure that you understand what they are. And then here are the 10 domains of a vibrant and fulfilling life. So I get this again from Michael Hyatt. He's the first person that introduced me to the 10 domains. It's so important because a lot of times when we sit down and do goal setting, we focus on two, right? We focus on financial and we focus on professional. So we focus on getting a promotion or getting paid more or paying off our credit card debt or buying a house or all of these things. If you sat down and made a list of the stuff that makes you truly happy today, spending time with your friends, spending time with your family, maybe getting exercise, watching a funny movie, whatever it may be, chances are you don't need anything more in life than you already have right now to be happy, right? If you made a list of the things that make you the happiest in your life, you would have everything you need to access 99% of them already. Maybe for some of us living in lockdown that dream of traveling, then maybe we need a little bit more opportunity to get out and travel to accomplish that goal. But for the most part, right, it's quality time spent doing things with people, things with family, things of nature. Those are the things that bring us the most value. And we already have all of those. So when we sit down and set professional goals and we sit down and set financial goals, and we dream for the future, they're things that we want, but they're not necessarily things that we need, right? And so that's what's so important about this 10 domains of a vibrant, fulfilling life. When you see hobbies, when you see intellectual interests, emotional interests, physical, parental, marital, social, gives you all these other different domains of life. And so you should sit down and think about in the next exercise, what does it look like if you're actually dipping equally from all 10 of those categories? Do I have habits, or do I have goals revolved around my hobbies? Making time to do things that's fun for me. Do I have goals or commitments around how much time I'm going to block off to be social, to make commitments to spend time with friends, to get in my physical exercise, to take time for my own self-care, to meditate, to stretch? Are those thoughts considered? Are you only focusing on the financial and the professional? And if you are, why? Do you really need any of those things? Or are you just trying to keep up with the people around you, or the people that you share an office space with, or you share an apartment with? Like, why are those things so important to you, and why are they more important than some of the other categories, right? So it's just taking a step back to think about why are these things important to you? And once you've decided what is most important to you, when you said look ahead to that 10 years down the road, what would that version of yourself be doing if they're living true to all the values that you hold near and dear and most important to your heart? And so this is your homework for the day, is the 5 years to remarkable life. So 5 years, I think, is relatively manageable. We start dreaming 10 years ahead, it's a little wishy-washy. 1 or 2 is a little too short. So 5 years is really powerful. So what you're going to do is block off at least 15 minutes of your time. This might take a little bit more than then, but for now, let's make the commitment. I will sit down and block off 15 minutes of my time to do the 5-year remarkable life vision sometime between now and next Wednesday, because we're going to need the information you get from this remarkable life exercise to do the next step of the journey next Wednesday, right? So you got to get done by then. So make a commitment to yourself, put it in your schedule to make sure it gets done. And all you're going to do is, like I said, imagine yourself 5 years from now. Where are you? Who are you with? How do you spend your time? How do you make money? Describe where you live. Describe your furniture, your clothes, your items. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? What hobbies do you have? What do you do for your emotional health? What do you do for your spiritual health? What do you do for your relationship health? All of those things, take them into consideration, take them into account. This is where you just go big. Let your freak flag fly. Be messy. Just write it all down. Get it all out there. This is totally just a brain dump. Okay. This is getting it all out on the page. Let it all loose. Think through it. And then we'll go from there. And so again, if you're looking to get a copy of the workbook, it's either down in the description if you're on Facebook or YouTube. Otherwise, there's a link in the bio up on Instagram. Go ahead, download the workbook and go through this exercise and get this sorted out. Next week, when we come back, we're going to build from there. We're going to talk about the difference between goals and habits. So we're going to come back to the circle behavior change. We're going to talk about some of the outcomes and some of the processes and what that looks like. We're going to start to build on this vision and get it really narrowed down to the point where you're not burnt out and you're not overwhelmed, like we talked about before the new year. I'm going to give you all the tools and systems you need to take this vision you have of what your future 5 years can be like and decide what the most important thing is to do this week, this month, this quarter, this year. We're going to work our way through all of that. But first things first is you got to have that big vision. So go ahead, click the link, get that workbook. We'll see you back here next week when you have your remarkable vision all written out. And sorry, actually, I guess I should show you as well. There's one more piece at the bottom of the workbook here. Once you've done that, there's another page that has all the different the 10 domains written out. And so then you can kind of look back and see, I have my big brain dump written out. I haven't stopped. I just wrote it all out, big bleh, onto the page? Do I have something relevant for each of the 10 categories? If not, maybe go back and add a little bit of details to each so you've got all 10 of the categories really fleshed out and organized. Okay? From there, we'll see you guys next week. We'll check in, see how you did. If you have any really cool passions, interests, hobbies, visions for yourself, you can share them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'll share with you a little bit of mine, the one that I came up with when I sit down to do this exercise. And then next week, like I said, talking about goals, talking about habits, talking about the framework for both of those. And then we'll move on from there. 6 weeks of fun and excitement. It all starts today. So I hope that's valuable for you guys. I hope you take a chance to go and get the workbook. Follow the link either in the description down below on Facebook or YouTube or up in the bio if you're on Instagram. Follow along with me, do the 5-year remarkable life exercise, and I'll see you guys back here next week for week 2 of Fresh Start 2022. Take care, guys, and have a good week.